30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, episode 30, campaigns and campaign funding. So now that we have candidates selected, we got to start campaigning. Campaigning started roughly, I want to say, in the 1700s. And back then, people campaigned like crazy. They would go all day and night. They would march with banners. They would sing candidate slogans or say candidate slogans. They used to parade at night. All these crazy things. A lot of those haven't really changed, but during the 1900s, campaigns changed in three major ways. Candidates became more visible. The role of the media became more pronounced, and polling became a key tool. So let's talk about candidate visibility. During the 1700s and the early to mid 1800s, candidates, particularly those running for president, were expected to maintain proper form during their campaigns. So they weren't really seen that much. They were to be proper people, not messing around or doing anything. As the nation grew, this attitude changed. So by the early 1900s, presidents started becoming more out there. There's an instance where Woodrow Wilson went out to a baby parade. And many believe that's where the kissing babies comes in. Oftentimes you'll see presidential candidates going out shaking hands and all that good stuff, and one of the things you always see is them kissing babies' foreheads. Strange, but true. Even today we see candidates holding rallies and campaigning. My two little pictures, right? I got Jeb Bush. Ooh, that's not what I wanted to do. Wow, that's one of the first times this semester. Impressive. Last semester I would do that all the time. But this is also, what am I doing? Oh my God, Seth. Pause. Okay, so here we have Jeb Bush at a rally. And on this side we got good old, oh my God, I did it again. Okay, sorry. Right here we got Miss Clinton, shaking hands and meeting with her supporters. So these are them being in the campaigns and making appearances. That's what I'm trying to say. Campaigning today is a grueling activity. It takes a lot of energy out of candidates. They have to, like I said, travel and speak. Like I said, Jeb Bush over here speaking to a crowd. They have to handshake. Hillary over here shaking hands, kissing babies. All of these things. They need to be with their constituents, meaning the people who are going to vote for them. People want to be able to meet these people. They want to make sure they're real, live people. So they have to do a lot of work and meet a lot of people and make a lot of people happy. So campaigning is not an easy thing. And through your guys' project, you guys are going to be campaigning as well. It won't be as grueling for you, but it will be work. Let's just say that. The media plays a big role in campaigning nowadays. But before we get into nowadays, let's talk about early campaign advertising. I can't say that word for the life of me. Presidential candidates first used television advertising during the 1952 campaign. Eisenhower ran 30 and 60-second political ads, hoping that they would capture viewers' interests, much like commercials for household goods, cars, and other products. You guys are actually going to be creating a campaign ad, and you need to capture your audience as well. Yeah. Today, presidential candidates and campaigns use the media a lot. We're talking not just traditional print and TV and radio, but social media. And the reason's really simple. It's really quite easy. Wow, I can talk, I swear. It's way easier to reach millions of people if you're using media. You can't meet millions of people in person. So making TV commercials, radio ads, tweeting, putting things on Facebook, Snapchatting, all these things. Huge. They can reach millions of people this way. These are all things that you're going to need to keep in mind, right? How are you going to reach your constituents as you are running your campaigns? Political media consultants, they're huge. They make tons of money because what their whole job is, how do we reach people using media, using TV and radio, using Snapchat, using Instagram, all these things. How do we reach people? Now, all that campaigning is fine, but campaign financing, it's expensive. It's really, really expensive. Think about it. All the bumper stickers, the campaign appearances, yard signs, direct mail, buttons, flyers, TV ads, commercials, all of that costs money. Back in 2000, George W. Bush and Al Gore together spent over $143 million just on advertising. What I've written over, or not written, but what I've stolen over here from some lovely website I call Google is it's a graphic of how much our current candidates are spending and making or raising in their campaigns. So if you look at Hillary Clinton raised $47.5 million in the second quarter. So this is Clinton, who I'm looking at. She spent $18.75 million. Holy moly! If you look at Jeb Bush, down here, Jeb raised $11.4 million and spent $3.1 million. Not as bad as that. If you were to look at, let's see, look at the current size. So Donald Trump's little circles are a little bit smaller. But what you notice is he's spending a heck of a lot more than he's raising. Whereas you have, who's spending more? Who else is spending more than they're raising? Well, most people are raising more than they're spending, but you see a lot of these big circles, right? They're raising a lot of money and they are spending a lot of money. So where's this money coming from? So they get the money from party assistance, from PACs, private donors, public funding, and personal financing. Assistance, part of the party, part of its job is to raise money for their candidates and their campaigns. Parties do not give money equally to all candidates. They give money to those who are probably going to win the race. So realistically, when it comes down to it, the Republicans are probably going to be giving Donald Trump a lot more money than they're giving, let's say, Kasich or Jindal or Pataki, right? Those were the ones lower on our list. Whereas, well, we just saw Miss Hillary over here. She's making a good amount of money. Woo! And she's going to be getting the most amount of money. Then we'll get Bernie and then Mr. Martin O'Malley over there coming in. But those aren't the only people. Remember we talked about political action committees, or PACs. And the other thing I talked about with PACs was, what are they called? Anybody remember? No? Really? You guys, come on! Well, I'm really hoping one of you said lobbyists, because PACs and lobbyists are very similar. Remember, political action committees, or PACs, are the groups of lobbyists who raise the money. That's how lobbyists give government officials money. Then you have private donors. So individual people can give money to candidates. You can donate as little money as you want or as much money as you want. That's where you have Donald Trump saying, back when Hillary Clinton was running earlier, he gave her a couple millions of dollars, right? But he's one single person. It's not a company that's giving her millions of dollars. That's one single person. And these people have single people or just families themselves giving millions of dollars sometimes. So, yeah, you do what you can on that private donors. Sometimes the government provides public money for campaigns. on a national level, that only happens with the president and the vice president, and it's very limited. It's a very limited amount, so it doesn't really make much of a difference. And lastly, we have personal financing. Some candidates, particularly those running who are very well endowed, meaning they have a lot of money, will have their own financing, right? We've talked about Donald Trump and how he's not taking money from people, especially not PACs or lobbyists. He's raising his own money mostly. Back in 2012, when Mitt Romney was running, he was putting up a lot of his own money. So if they're super rich, they'll put up their own money. Okay, now we get to the regulations of campaign financing. Because so much money was changing so many hands, regulations needed to be put into place. This happened with the Federal Election Campaign Act of 1972. This act has been amended several times, but regulations that campaigns must follow include the 4 things I've written here: financial disclosure, contribution, wow, I can say that word, contribution limits, spending limits, and donor restrictions. So, financial disclosure. Basically, what that means is that campaign committees are required by law to submit extensive financial reports explaining how much money they have raised and how it was spent. Basically, they got to write a report, tell people how much did you make, how much did you spend, and where did you spend it. Contribution limits. Contributions to federal candidates' campaign, whether for a primary or general election, are limited to $1,000 for an individual and $1,000 or $5,000 for an organization. What? How does that make sense? Hold up. Okay, sorry. So, like I was saying, and $1,000 or $5,000 for an organization such as a PAC. Now, the way they're able to do this, and the way they're able to contribute as much as $5,000, is that the organization must have at least 50 contributors. That way, it's an equal amount of money for each person, and it's not just like one person pretending to be a PAC giving $5,000. Now, remember I talked about how you can give millions of dollars, and how Donald Trump has given millions of dollars to certain people's campaigns, such as Hillary Clinton? Well, he wasn't able to do so as an individual per se, but he was able to make several donations, which then added up to millions of dollars, I'm sure. And even though there's super strict contribution limits, people get around it all the time. I mean, the reason there's these limits is so that one person or one group can't have too much influence, but we all know that people have great amounts of influences on some of these candidates, and that's because they donate a big amount of money. They just do so in shady ways. Okay, remember how on the last slide we talked about how sometimes candidates get public funding? Well, if they get public funding, then there are spending limits. They can't spend an unlimited amount of public funding. However, if the candidate does not accept public funds, or he or she does not get them, then they are not bound by spending limits. And last, we get to donor restrictions. There are several restrictions that exist on the source of donations to any election campaign. Corporations are forbidden to give money directly to campaigns. Same with large labor unions, government and government contractors. But corporations, other organizations, especially government contractors, have been able to work the system. Just like I said, with the contribution limits, people have worked the system, right? Just because a company can't directly give money to a candidate doesn't mean that they can't give money to the PAC, which can then give money to the candidate. So they can do it indirectly and in shady ways. But the one thing that is not allowed is campaign donations from a foreign source. So that means that you cannot get donations from another country.
No silver or no gold could dress me up so